Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a review of Absolute Power #1. Joining me is my man, Zach. What up, Zach?
What's up, Jim?
And here we are. I thought that maybe I was on mute myself and thought that you didn't hear me, but here we are to talk a little Absolute Power, and it's something that a lot of people have written off already. Going into, we ended up having Absolute Power Ground Zero last week that I thought was actually better than I ever expected it to be. I thought it was pretty cool. You told me the same deal, but now we're into the whole thing proper, and I do think that this is a good issue. I think that it ends up feeling big because of the amount of characters in it, and that's what I actually love from events, is the amount of characters. But I also feel like we're just getting started. I think that that's the only thing that kind of pulls me back a tiny bit, just saying, okay, we had all that set up, everything leading. I get it. You're going to pull out one big thing in this, but I was shocked that we didn't get a little more forward with it. You end up at the end, as always, the heroes are kind of, they're in a corner. They have a lot of things going on, but a lot of things do go on. But I'll give you the credits here to start with. It is written by Mark Waid. Colors by Alejandro Sanchez. I should say art by Dan Mora first, and the art's incredible.
Yes.
And you do have Ariana Mayer on letters and a cool cover from Dan Mora as well. And yeah, you start off, if you had read any of the comic books recently, you start off with what was that preview of Absolute Power. Superman ends up confronting some guys on a rooftop. The one guy freaks out, shoots Superman, and he's bleeding. It does affect him, and he starts falling Hans Gruber style to, what would maybe his death. You end up feeling like, oh my God, he doesn't have any powers. What is going on? How did these bullets? Now, originally I thought maybe the bullets were something that were wacky. We'll find out that that's not quite the case. And we'll try not to spoil everything because it is a big event book, but we'll go through it. But what happens is you do go back in time to see where we got to this point. And pretty much what we're getting is a continuation. And sadly, while we continued a lot of stuff and set up a lot of stuff with Amanda Waller, obviously some people complain, this is a tone that you got out of Night Terrors that never continued. You didn't see, and they could have done it a better way where you saw more and more people afraid of the superheroes, especially maybe the Justice League, but then the Titans, have them try to save. Now, we did end up getting a little with Beast Boy after the whole Beast World, but still only against him. And this all should have been more and more and more as we get to this, because this is full out. Everybody is afraid, angry, pissed off about heroes, specifically the Justice League again. But in the meantime, we're going to throw in stuff where Amanda Waller has gotten the power to deep fake everybody. And in that, I get the play. I get what Mark Waid is doing, because this is something that is happening now, with things with AI and chat. And it is playing that people will be duped by anything. So I did think that it's a little bit too much, where there doesn't seem to be anybody who's going, whoa, 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 I don't think Superman would actually do that. Or, hey, I believe that maybe Batman, that guy's a jerk, but I don't think that Blue Beetle would do that. Everybody has lost their minds.
Mob mentality.
Yeah, it is. It's a complete mob mentality. And in that, Mark Waid is going to bring up some stuff in this issue, like tying in barely. Like, oh man, that stuff that happened with Wonder Woman and the Amazons. Like we said, it's mentioned. The stuff, though, in that book, again, didn't really push. That's very, isolated with the Sovereign. And I actually wish that somehow they would have worked the Sovereign and his kind of manipulation ability or whatever it is. It's never really been spelled out great in the Wonder Woman run by Tom King. But maybe put that into getting people more and more just losing their minds. I think they're losing their minds a little too much, is what I'm saying.
Well, you could have tied it in really cool where it's like, oh, it turns out Waller made a deal with the Sovereign to have that Amazon lady kill all those people that to incite it. You could tie it in.
Yeah, and if you're going to do that, it makes kind of sense to me, since she's the head of the Bureau of Sovereignty, and there's the Sovereign, and Sarge Steele is in this. Like, you have a lot of ways to get that. You can kind of read between the lines at points, but again, you're just going from us really seeing barely any ramifications to Night Terrors. Remember I'll tell you what the biggest thing that happened after Night Terrors, that kid threw away a poster of the Justice League.
Oh,
that was
wow.
it. He's like, I don't like this poster. Boom. Like the amount of times I did that growing up, I'm like, Michael Jordan, get out of here. Get out of town, Wayne Gretzky. But in all these things, like, you needed to build that more. Now, they did a little more with the Beast World, but like I said, it was more against Beast Boy. But I get it. It just seemed a little bit over the top. And people are living because there's deep fakes. And what you're doing is showing, oh my God, Blue Beetles kill. And it's going as far as saying the heroes are just killing people.
Superman, right outside the window, murdering people.
So what the heroes decide, what they have to do, is they have to be more visible. Batman is kind of looking through this and thinks, okay, if we're more visible, if they're saying that Superman has some problems, but if they're saying these heroes, are doing these bad, we're going to show them that's not true. We're going to go out and show the good things. And also if they say, really what it should be, they should intercept some of these broadcasts and have footage. No. Here's Green Lantern. He's in China right now. How could he be doing that in San Francisco?
They even say something about how it doesn't even have his ring right now.
Yeah. And so they're going, people don't understand that, and Amanda Waller's taking advantage of that. But again, deep fakes being helped on by Failsafe and the Brainiac Queen, where they are doing all of that stuff. In the meantime, Lois Lane is like, we're not going to report on this stuff. This is not true. She has a little, horse in the game there where they actually are sitting there, Clark and Lois, seeing what is supposed to be Superman doing bad stuff. But again, Superman doing bad stuff does not compute in my head at all, even if all the superheroes. And if this would happen, I would immediately think they're being controlled, something else, it's a villain, like that sort of thing.
No, the Starro things are back and controlling the heroes again.
That, like I would think that I wouldn't attack them, but I guess this is like we've had too much.
Yeah.
I can't take no more, and they're going. So Lois ends up where she's like, we're not reporting on this. These are not valid things. We have to get sources. We have to verify. We don't run unverified deal. Jimmy comes running in and like, look at this. And there's another report. And then Lois is like, why am I looking at this garbage? We're not. That's us. This is our feed. We're doing it. It's because Amanda Waller has taken over. This continues. Yes. And I think that that's a good play. She has been grabbing, and she's used a lot of disasters. And this is what does happen, where you get a little bit of that and a little less freedom there and a little of that, get more control. And she's done that. We've already seen in the Beast World that she even is higher than the U.S. president, all that stuff. And she's pulling all the strings. Like I said, at one point she meets with Sarge Steele. And that is a real easy way to have a little bit, hey, let me take you a tour. Hey, you see this? Here's the Brainiac Queen. Hey, she does this. And oh my God, there's Failsafe and this. You do have a play where Failsafe and Sarge Steele kind of like go at each other. And I think Sarge Steele is saying too much. Don't say that you're worried about things, even though, again,
I'm having doubts.
Yeah, he's having. But here's what you have to remember, too, as far as we can tell. The Failsafe robot isn't a murder machine. This is a robot program. Now, it is weird, and without the Zoran or whatever, they will reveal whatever. It could mean different, but this isn't just full-out murder machine, but we'll see how this works out. But it's all Amanda Waller. She's grabbed some things, including Dreamer. They're all there in an issue that I think, again, it might feel like I'm yelling about this issue or whatever. There are some things that make it not a perfect issue. But the overall idea of this is then you end up with the Suicide Squad, the 7, sending out a mazo robots, and they're going to grab the powers from all the heroes. They're going to take them, and what they ended up doing, all these deep fakes, they were to get the heroes out in the open because she figured if I do this, they're going to go out and say, look, we're not doing that. We're doing good things. They're on the outside when they're
exposed. They're vulnerable.
They're exposed and vulnerable, and they are trying to, do some good things and stop some stuff. By the end, though, the amazing robots seem to come in and would you everybody and steal their powers. And I do like that at the most part. You end up seeing that, frequency going and grabbing, though I think you might be going a little too far with some of these. You end up saying your superpowers are being taken. Okay, amazing. Okay. Right? Amazing robots.
All right.
You got that. If you utilize devices, we will drain them. Okay, well, you can, but I think that you could also recharge them. This would be like if it's Jon Stewart, you drain his ring. He's going to charge it then. Like, it doesn't say destroy them. Even the Helm of Fate, there's got to be something. You see the Spectre. These are big characters they're taking off the board, which makes sense. Then you go too far.
Yeah.
This is the one. This is the one that where if you use magic, you will no longer remember how to conjure it. And I think that this is full out the idea that Mark Waid's thinking, I cannot figure out a way to get the magic characters off the board like everyone else. How are you using these robots or anything like that to make Constantine, who's right here, how is he going to forget how to use magic? And that is kind of silly. I get it. I actually wish that this would have been another one of those things where the Justice League Dark, which we do see at a point, they could be that. The magic could be the defense, but we're not going to get that. They're all going to be powerless. They all have the powers taken away. Crazy, big, but maybe going a little too far. And in the meantime, you think like, well, Batman's going to be good. This, I actually like, I know a lot of people will roll their eyes and say, oh, it's another one of these things when the heroes lose their powers. I like when that happens sometimes, when you do end up being able to show why some of these heroes without powers, Batman, pretty much the Bat family for the most part, they still can do things. They still are, and actually up the ante because they always could do things. Now they kind of elevate themselves because they have what they always said. You can't take the power from Batman of always being prepared. That's nothing in a Mazo robot. That'd be funny if they tried. But in the meantime, Oliver, which if you have been reading things and going, you'll realize that he's on Waller's side. That was revealed especially in the Green Arrow book last week. He gets on the comms, and Batman thinks he's in trouble. That's the worst of this. Or Batman's like, are you okay? Like, we'll come and help you. What's going on? He's like, nope, I'm with Waller. I am actually with Waller at this point. Maybe it's so quickly after, but I think word might have been spread. I think that when you have Roy and them and they find out, you know what? Telling everybody, telling the whole Arrow family, this might be something you want to tell other people in the DC universe. But he says right off, and you have to do that so people who weren't reading go. But he says, I'm with Waller. I think she's right. I think that, the heroes, I've told you guys all along that you guys actually, are worse for everybody. You don't do good. And I'm Waller through and through. And Batman's like, okay, this sucks. And then Oliver says, we're coming for you. He's the one that even told them this is where your powers, and says at the one point, your powers are gone forever. You don't get them back. They're not coming back. So that's big. That's where I start thinking of a new status quo afterwards. Are we going to have to do something? And that's why we're going to maybe have some new number ones, why some of the creative teams are leaving. And if that's the case, okay. I wouldn't mind. I'd like to see, and that would actually, if that does happen, we're only one issue in, obviously, but if that happens, at least there's big stakes and ramifications, but it does set that up. So we'll see. But even as you go, like we said about having different characters, I mean, you end up having, Captain Marvel, you end up, Shazam or the Captain, you have Mary Marvel, you have the Doom Patrol, you have Animal Man and Maxine at the beginning, you end up Firestorm. I mean, you're getting, we're getting a lot of characters we haven't gotten in a long, long time, but all their powers are being taken away and it's big trouble. Now, the big other thing is when Superman was falling to his death, he is saved by Connor and John, but they end up losing their powers. So and they come crashing down. And you do see these Amazo robots and even these shock troops of the Suicide Squad 7. They're all collecting people. They're grabbing it. Maybe what leads to what we saw in the Free Comic Book Day of the chained up heroes and whatnot. But you even have John and Cut. We got to get Superman to a hospital. I mean, this is bad. And you end up where at the end you have a bit of an epilogue because you have a character. Now, I said we weren't going to spoil it. Screw it. If you don't want spoilers, go read the issue and then come back. But at the end, John wakes up and he looks like he's been turned into like a cybernetic freak.
He's been assimilated by the Brainiac Queen.
He has the Borg has gotten him. And I do love where at the back, and I'm like, who is that in the back? I thought it is like the Brainiac Queen, like peeping over at him waking up. He's got circuits, digitized stuff, all that going on. Maybe this is something that might be cool for people that
maybe.
I don't know how you do that to somebody who maybe will find out that the aged up John isn't quite the aged up John. Maybe we had something, and this might be the biggest thing for people who want the idea of him being DA'd. Maybe that's not really him. I don't know. I'm saying it's weird. It's weird to just plug a guy in and have him be circuits and stuff like that. It's very odd.
He is truly Cyborg Superman.
Yeah, he is. I mean, yeah, look at him. And he is, like you said, assimilated. Maybe it's just that. It probably is. I just want to get people excited that, oh my God, they realize.
Oracle from Future State or whatever. Just hooked up to everything.
It's just hooked up. That was the worst when she's all of a sudden, it's like all of a sudden that just gets wiped away. She's there and going, but
I hope this don't get wiped away. I want to know what this is.
So you end up where like Brainiac Queen, but with that, does she know more? They had the time. It's crazy. So we'll see, but it looks awesome.
Oh yeah,
I mean, this issue looks great, and you have every character. And if you've been reading Mark Waid and Dan Mora's World's Finest, they add a lot of characters, and there's a ton of fun characters. Like they're here now. They may not do tons, but Red Tornado. I'm just paging through. You have Booster Gold. You have Martian Manhunter. All these things going. And they are all hands on deck to then get duped and gets their powers taken away. Everybody's powerless. But when everybody doesn't have powers, doesn't ever. I think that Batman and all of them are going to step up.
Batman. Everybody be like, he has no powers. Like, y'all know y'all don't either.
Yeah, now they know. So you end up where, what would you give? I think it's a good start. I think it felt big. I liked it. I said it's not perfect, but with the setup, at least you did set up the Waller stuff, and that's the least eye-rolling things I had. I'm more of, you should have shown more of the people reacting before this. You should have seen, and now they're losing their mind. It seems kind of a bit too much, but still, you have what they say is they think it's a superhero terrorist attack. I get it, but what would you give this?
Yeah, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. I still enjoyed it, and yes, there are definitely nitpicks to have. There's very much... Like I said, I really wish we had gotten more of, like, because the only thing we really see to, like, people having doubts is the Lois Lane stuff, and obviously she's going to have doubts. It's her freaking husband.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, I would have liked to see people being like, well, wait a minute, that shows them fighting in front of Big Ben, but I'm looking at Big Ben right now. There's no Superman fight. Like, have people be questioning. I mean, like, I understand there will be people who will blindly follow it and just rampage.
That does happen.
Just show that people are divided. Like, that's the whole point. We know that all these people are turning on the heroes. Some are still for, some are still against. Show that. Don't just show, mob mentality.
Yeah, it's just, it looks like worldwide mob mentality, and it wouldn't be that. It never is. And again, there is the fun thing, but you never play out fully where there is the report, oh no, Superman's a big, we know that he isn't. Clark's right there. Clark is right there with love, but you can't let everybody, like, there's the cool play is, I want to show everybody here at Lisa, but I can't. And then we have even more problems with that if they find. So you have all that going on. That's pretty cool. But one of the things that gets shoved away, and I didn't love it, is, maybe the Justice League should have a press conference. And that's when I think it is Hawkman's like, well, there is no. There still is the Trinity. Yeah. There still is the members of the Justice League who could then still. You don't have to be fully Justice League or to have Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman have a press conference and say, listen, right at this moment, you seem to be seeing the Superman at Big, but here we are. Even though then you could play the idea, they're like, you're the deep fake, you jerks. Like, you could go back and forth.
Yeah.
But
and
you end up having
some
problems.
Cool stuff, too. Like, because I'm looking at this Blue Beetle panel right now where he's killing people. And it's like, you know what? What if you had freaking footage of him killing the freaking Red Beetle?
Yeah.
What was his name?
That's really real. I know what you're saying. The blood
You could have peppered in real stuff. Yeah. You could have peppered in real stuff. And because, you were talking about it. What was it? Beast Roar? Where it's like, oh, no, that actually is Beast Boy. Controlling people. It was against his will, but he still technically did it. You could have
doing
that.
It. Yeah, I guess they're saying like that. They already did, but maybe have it a little more. Show some things. Or show somebody like, I don't believe that's really Blue Beetle. He's my favorite, guy. We never do that, but you see the mob mentality.
Josh Trujillo wrote him.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It was not great. So at this point, though, I'm an 8 as well. So I think it's a good start. And if you ended up,
it's got some big stakes, and that is what DC needs right now.
Yep, I'm not going to say full out that you have to read it. It's up to everybody. No. If you want to read it, read it. If you don't. We'll be reviewing it. Hopefully by the end, you're like, man, that seems pretty cool. I want to check it out. But it's the big event. It seems like it's going to set up a lot of things. So with all of that, though, thanks for joining me, Zach.
No problem.
As always, and I hope that people enjoyed this deal. It's kind of a little bit of surprise. I asked you at the last second, only because, and I will mention that this week on our regular podcast, usually me and Eric will talk about this book. But Each week, 2 books are picked by the badass patrons on our Patreon, and it looks like it's going to be a Patreon-only deal. If you wanted to hear me and Eric talk about it, we'll probably go into a more depth. I'm sure it'll be over now, where this is something that is pretty big. You can go to patreon.com/weirdscience, sign up, and you can get a free trial for 7 days and listen to that and plenty of other things. But that's it. Thanks again, and we will talk to you all later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.